Picture this. It's 1969, and ABC is trying to bring the absolute glamour and scandal of a Harold Robbins novel to television. We're talking a world of wealth, power, and betrayal. The show was called The Survivors, and it promised to be this huge dramatic saga, but it burned out almost as fast as it began.
Okay, so that incredibly audacious statement you see right there, that came from the man himself, Harold Robbins, a guy they called the Onassis of supermarket literature. I mean, this guy was a total phenomenon. His racy, blockbuster novels sold over 750 million copies. So in 1969, he was at the absolute top of his game, and you better believe television came knocking.
So you have to understand, at the time, ABC's big primetime soap, Peyton Place, and that show basically invented the genre, was kind of running out of steam. The network desperately needed a new, sensational hit. So who do you call? You call the biggest name in pulp fiction, Harold Robbins, and you tell him to create the next big thing, and boy, were they willing to spend whatever it took.
$300,000. Let that sink in for a second. That's per episode. It was a brand new all-time high for television. A truly staggering budget meant to bring Robbins' world to life. And his world was all about, as he put it, the power elite, the tough, amoral people who move and shape our world.
Now, the concept itself was really ambitious and pretty unique. They weren't just making another TV show. No, they were crafting a novel for television. The idea was that every single week, you, the viewer, would tune in for a brand new chapter built on that classic Robbins formula. Tons of money, dark secrets, and just shocking betrayals.
So what was this whole thing actually about? Well, the story centered on the Carlyles, this fabulously wealthy Wall Street banking family. On the surface, they had everything. Power, prestige, glamour, but underneath all that polish, their entire world was basically built on a pile of lies.
And the plot? Oh, the plot was just pure, uncut soap opera gold. Just look at this list. We've got embezzlement from the family bank, a secret love child, a son trying to fund a revolution, and of course, you gotta have a dying patriarch to kick off a vicious fight for control of the dynasty. It had all the perfect ingredients for drama.
Now, to really capture that jet-set lifestyle, production kicked off in the super glamorous south of France. But here's where things start to go completely off the rails. It didn't take long for the drama happening off-screen to become way more scandalous than anything they had in the script.
So the show's big star was the screen legend Lana Turner. But, and this is a big but, she was a movie star. The rapid-fire pace of making television was a complete and total shock to her system. Her co-star George Hamilton talked about the sheer excess of it all, saying he'd just order champagne for breakfast because, in his words, it was like people had gotten crazy with a lot of money. And the delays, they became the stuff of legend. Apparently, Turner would make these constant, impossible demands for costume changes just to stall for time. She once told her designer that a good delay would give her time for 2 vodka tonics so I can learn these damn lines.
And then it all just completely boiled over. The tension between Lana Turner and a Universal executive finally exploded. A fight broke out over wardrobe, and in the heat of the moment, she slapped him. And then he slapped her right back. Can you even imagine that happening on a set today? It was a complete meltdown.
According to George Hamilton, the set had turned into the Third World War. Total chaos. And where was the show's creator, Harold Robbins, during all of this? Well, let's just say he was a little distracted. He was reportedly way more interested in partying on Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton's yacht than writing a coherent story for his own show. And this right here really gets to the heart of the problem. With no one actually steering the ship, the story just fell apart. So get this. The main character, the patriarch, suffers a fatal heart attack at the end of the very first episode, only to show up for work in episode 2 as if nothing ever happened. It was absolute nonsensical chaos.
So, when The Survivors finally limped its way onto the airwaves in September of 1969, the audience was every bit as confused as the cast and crew were. The show was an immediate, spectacular failure.
You also really have to look at what it was up against. While The Survivors was offering up all the scandal and intrigue with the super rich, its competition over on CBS was the wholesome, small-town charm of Mayberry RFD and the Doris Day Show. As it turned out, American audiences overwhelmingly chose Mayberry over Monte Carlo. 15. That's it. That's all they got. After just 15 chaotic, confusing, and incredibly expensive episodes, ABC pulled the plug. The most expensive show on television was just gone. Canceled right in the middle of its first season.
So, was the whole thing just a colossal, expensive mistake? Well, yes and no. Because here's the ironic thing. While the survivors definitely did not survive, its ambitious, spectacular failure actually helped shape the future of television for decades. You see, the show's failure taught the network some really valuable lessons. It was a crucial, if painful, stepping stone. It helped pave the way for the miniseries boom of the 70s, with huge hits like Rich Man, Poor Man. And then, less than a decade later, another show about a wealthy, backstabbing family, you might have heard of it, it's called Dallas, would take the exact formula that the survivors fumbled and turn it into one of the biggest hits in TV history. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it may not have survived its first season, but Harold Robbins' The Survivors left behind this fascinating glimpse of what network TV was daring enough to try. It was bold, it was glamorous, it was just a little scandalous, and it was a magnificent failure.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hey, tell us in the comments, what classic soap opera should we dive into next time?